Mark, it is so great to have you here, and it's great to have you as a friend of the First Nation Major Products Coalition. Uh, there's been incredible energy in the room. You know, 1,700 people. I think they're hanging on every word, especially when you talked about being at the table and not being a meal.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about being at the table and the world that you live in, and your role in bridging, quite
Yeah.
frankly, with the Indigenous community from what you're learning?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things, JP. I started the analogy in talking about Canada as a whole, and how we need to be at the table and we need to use all our resources and all human and natural resources to make sure we're in those conversations with the big powers around the world, because the world's changed. It's not a rules-based world anymore. But the more fundamental point, which is what this amazing event is, and the energy is fantastic and the momentum is fantastic, the more fundamental point is that we're all sharing the meal in Canada. We're creating the meal, we're sharing the meal in Canada. And what's crucial is that that starts from the start. It's not sequential, it's not an afterthought, it's not something that comes at the end. It comes, yes, absolutely in terms of the economics, but also straight from the start in terms of the impact assessments. Who knows the land, who knows the regions better than the Indigenous peoples who are there? So they need to be in start right from the get-go, and then extending through time. So again, you talked about it, I know when I was listening to you, not just the construction jobs, but the operation, the aftermarket jobs, and the bigger economic impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're going out hunting, you have to have the right tools. You got to have the right people. Can you share from your experience, or at least what you're starting to see going forward with the Indigenous community, how we're going to create those implements together so that we can harvest beautiful animals and share those meals together?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, you look, you learn, you go hunting, you go fishing, you learn your gear that works well, and you know what? There's some that works better in most situations, and so sticking with the stuff that is developed that works is important. So, for example, there's sort of technical things around what are called off-take agreements. You know, somebody who's buying the power or buying the natural gas. Look, a lot of work's been done on that. We need to get familiarized that, but then you pick it up like a trusty rifle or a good fly rod and use that. So you're not reinventing the wheel on some of this stuff, and that's a lot what the FNMPC can do, which is to help bring the best tools to the decisions.
Absolutely, and it's the right people, and allyship is really important. You see this in the room.
Yeah.
You've got willing partners, the communities. We often look at our lands as our form of equity to come to the table, but we also need the financial equity.
Yeah.
And in a position like yours, where you're directing and influencing, what do you say to your partners that are coming to the table and not really understanding this space? Because we know that economic reconciliation is our competitive edge. We got to get better at this relationship. We're just at the starting line. So how do you influence others that come to the table within the sphere of what you
Yeah,
want?
so one of the things, at Brookfield, I work with others, and we have, just to put it in context of renewable power, clean power alone, we have over $100 billion US invested already in this area around the world, and very much in Canada. And so a couple of things we do to our partners, or say to our partners. One, we have partnerships with First Nations in Canada. We have partnerships on hydropower on Vancouver Island. We're building 3.5 gigawatts, which is a lot of power across Canada, with a host of First Nations across Canada. So this is a model that works. It's a model we're familiar with. But then we make a more fundamental point. So first thing is, look, it works. We have experience, and we've got willing partners who want to make this work. But then there's the second thing, and this is a development that's happened only really, JP, in recent years around the world, is investors are starting to care about the broader impact of their investments. They're saying, well, what does the local community think about this? Are there local jobs? Is growth inclusive as well as having the return? So they're starting in a sort of vague way to look for the kind of answers that we're already developing here in Canada.
Absolutely, and when the momentum is there,
Yeah.
When we talk about ESG, we talk about impact investing, we talk about transition and the investment in the new renewables and clean energy. In your charts, you see the parabolic, you see it. But when things start to get a little bit challenging around the balance sheets, around taxes, around inflation, around many of the economic challenges we're facing as a nation, how do you keep that momentum so it doesn't start to plateau? Because we know the need, we got to continue to shrink it. But the difference,
Yep.
how do we keep that momentum going?
Well, one of the things I'll give you, I'm going to give you a commercial answer to that question first, which is one of the things we do at Brookfield is we don't lock in the price until we know the costs. So
Good business sense.
It makes sense. But some people do it the other way around because they think interest rates are going to remain low forever, or the Chinese will always supply things, etc. So we make sure we know what our equity relationships are. We know how much the equipment's going to cost. We know how much the capital is going to cost. And then we go and we provide it, provide and fix the price. So that's kind of the first way you do it. The second thing, though, I would say, and just to put this all in perspective, is the demand here globally is absolutely enormous for what Canada has.
Yes.
And we're an energy superpower, we can be a clean energy superpower. If we get this right over the course of the next decade, be for tremendous benefits for our First Nations and the country as a whole, and by extension for the world. And we can lock in our position. We really can lock in our position. And look, full credit to you, to Nilo, and to Mark and the whole First Nations Major Project Coalition, because you've been creating the tools and the understanding that's necessary to seize this opportunity. We got to go do it. But we really have the chance to do it.
Absolutely. I always talk about caring, believing, and doing. We care, we're at the table, as you say.
Yeah.
We got to believe we can achieve more. Now it's the do part. If there's one thing that you say, like, we need right now, whether that's relationship or more you've got a lot of money, you've got billions of dollars, but what is it right now to get us to that next level?
I think, look, let's zone in on a couple big projects and get them done. There's nothing like case studies and examples, because it makes it easier for people to follow in with the next one. So let's get the big tough ones and get them done. Set a timeline. Within the next 18 months, let's be at what's called, as you know, FID, Final Investment Decision, which means the project's happening.
Let's get to the table and eat well.
All right, let's go.
We got to.
All right,
Thanks
JP.
a lot, Mark.
Thanks,
that was
man.
really great.
That's great.
Cheers.